Hi everyone, it's Candace. I'm back with 3 cards today, and they're all about balloons. Balloons are great to use in card making for a couple of reasons. One, they can be either given to a male or a female, and anytime you can find a card to make for a male is a good thing. And two, they really are joyful. If you look on Pinterest, you can find a myriad of balloon cards. I'm going to show you 3 ways to make them. Here's the first one. It's a cluster of balloons rising to the top of the card with a big hooray as a greeting. The next one I like a lot. You just see part of a balloon and you can imagine that it's flying away, or perhaps a child is holding on to it. The last one has a cluster of balloons in the background. There's a big happy birthday greeting and Nuvo drops adding bright color to it. This has some drying time, so we'll start here. All of these cards use a base of 5.5 by 8.5 inches, scored and folded at 4.25 inches. The panels are all 5.25 by 4 inches, and I've used 80-pound Neenah Classic white cardstock. I didn't have a balloon stencil, so I created one. Here it is right here. I'll show you how I did that. I told you before that I've been making cards for a long time, and this will show you how long ago I started making cards. This is an old Sizzix die. I took a piece of acetate and cut out the long balloon to create the die using the Big Shot. There are many balloon dies out there now, so you can buy one and make your own stencil, or just buy a balloon stencil. I put down a craft mat because ink will get on my surface below. I also put some removable tape on my cardstock to hold it in place. I'm using Distress Oxide inks. This one is Broken China. I dampened a paper towel and will clean off the stencil between each color. I'm speeding up this video because you can get the idea of how I'm doing this. But the other colors of the Distress Oxide that I'm using are Wilted Violet, Cracked Pistachio, Spiced Marmalade, and Worn Lipstick. If I weren't making this card for the video, I would be making 2, 3, or even 4 cards at a time. I would use the ink for a balloon on one card and then go to another panel and stencil it, and then go to another one, etc. Then I would clean off the stencil and move on to another color. That's just better, efficient use of time. I'm sorry that I'm out of frame for much of this card. I'll get the hang of making these videos one day. When I get to the first balloon in the second row, I use the same color as the last balloon, simply because I don't have to clean off the stencil. I like the translucent look of the balloons. I'm using a Happy Birthday die from My Favorite Things, which I bought at Simon Says Stamps. It's where I buy most of my supplies. I like this die because it's big, it's really big, and presents a hearty greeting. I cut the greeting from glitter cardstock and also a couple of times from white cardstock so I can layer it. You can see that the greeting is in 3 pieces with the H separated from the rest of happy. Think about when you write happy with a capital H. I'll bet that you don't join the H to the rest of the word either. I centered the greeting by eyeballing it. I used 3 Nuvo drops: Bubblegum Blush, Apple Sour, and Ripened Pumpkin. I scattered the drops randomly on the front. And there it is, a finished card. I just need to set it aside to dry. To make this next card, I'm using the largest of the balloons from Celebration Time by Simon Says Stamps. I'm cutting out several colors of designer paper from an older pad that I have from K& Company. I'll tell you a story about that in just a minute. Emboss the panel with a Sizzix embossing folder called Decorative Dots. The dots are kind of wonky, and I thought they paired well with the balloons. Okay, so here's the story. Many years ago, I was at the Ellen Hudson website, and I was having a terrible time maneuvering around it. So I sent an email telling them so, saying that I was only criticizing them because I wanted the company to succeed, but the site was too difficult for customers. Well, surprise. Shortly after that, I received a package in the mail with hundreds of dollars worth of supplies as a thank you. Papers, cardstocks, paper punches, stickers. It was overwhelming. I'm still using many of those supplies today. Okay, back to the card. I arranged the balloons the way I wanted, and then I began tying the strings to the bottoms. I didn't have any string thin enough, so I took some baker's twine and separated the strands. The strings gave me a little trouble. I didn't have problems when I did the sample card, but just knowing I was videotaping was enough to fluster me a bit. I tied the strings around the top 4 balloons and then glued them down on my panel. Then I cut the short part of the string and added a tiny drop of glue to keep it from slipping off. It dries clear, so it's not a problem. Next, I pulled each string tightly and taped it to the back side of the panel. Don't use double-sided tape here, just use good old Scotch tape. Now here's where I encountered another problem. I should have left the bottom portion of the balloons in the top row unglued so I could slip the last 3 balloons under them, but I didn't. So I had to put the last 2 over the other balloons. It looks fine, but I wanted them to look like my sample card. Then I taped the strings to those balloons under the panel, just as I did the others. The Hooray dies are by Neat and Tangled, and I bought the set at Simon Says Stamps. I glued 2 of the Hooray bases together because the designer paper I used was thin, and then I glued the Hooray atop it. I changed over to my trusty Zig glue pen. I can put down really small dots of glue, and since the Hooray was narrow, it was a perfect choice. I wanted to raise the greeting from the panel, so I used my 3M mounting tape and stuck it all over the back. I wanted the greeting to be nice and firm and not give way in the mail. Then I cut off the parts of the balloon that were hanging over the panel. Finally, I added the greeting to the panel and the panel to the base. Because I was out of frame, you can't see the card. Fortunately, though, I kept the sample card in the video the whole time, so you know what the finished card looks like. No, I was wrong. Here's the card. You'll get a better look at it, though, at the end of the video. Here's the last card for today. It's a quick and easy card to make. You'll be able to make several of these in a short period of time. I'm using one of the stitched basic edges from My Favorite Things. I'm using the arced edge that can be used as perhaps a hillside on another card, but today I'm using it as part of the balloon. Before I do anything else, I'm stamping the greeting on my panel. I'm always in awe of the card makers who wait until the end to stamp the greeting. I've messed up often enough to know I should do it first. After I cut out the arc, I can see that you can't tell it's a balloon, so I punch out a small heart and slip part of it under the arc, and voila! Now I have a balloon. The string was being a bit uncooperative. I had to fiddle a bit to get the string under the heart. When I make the card again, I will either put the greeting to the right side or put the balloon on the left side. Either way, it will make it easier to adjust where the string will fall. I tie the string to the bottom of the balloon. Since the greeting will be covered up a little by the string, I use a little glue to hold the string in place around it. Here are the 3 cards. Any of them would brighten a recipient's day. I hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a like, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Have a great day.